Hey guys, how's it going? Right, we are back here with some Let's Talk thing. I have my two co-hosts. We have Wancho Nacho, and we also have Mo in the house right now. We would like to discuss first off the bat the incident with the FTR having the cease and desist order from a independent tag team out in California. Mo, would you like to shed some light on this, or would you like to give you a couple of seconds for you to grab some like the report or whatever, or do you just want to go off the top of your head?
I can go. I also posted my Facebook news articles came in from, but two independent wrestlers, they are known as the Revolt, and when they seen that the team formerly known as the Revival in WWE was doing that, they sent a cease and desist letter from their attorney. However, the Revolt, formerly known as the Revival, have gone onto Twitter and said all you had to do was ask. And they are now only being referenced as FTR, which is Fear the Revolt.
Okay, so say something.
Yeah, let me just say this first. So there's no actual copyright in the Fear the Revolt. There's only a copyright in their tag team being called the Revolt.
Yes.
Right.
Since they're using Fear the Revolt, they are now fine, but they're just going to use FTR.
Right. Okay. So then officially they are just known as FTR then, yeah?
Yes.
Right. Okay. And they have stylized that gimmick for quite a while though as well, haven't they? Because they also were known as Fear the Revival before. So they've obviously stylized the FTR thing anyway from a couple of years ago. And I'm sure that they own the actual copyright to the phrase FTR, as in what that means. So either way, I don't know where that Revolt's going to stand. Maybe they just can't call the tag team of, the former Revival. They can't call them the Revolt now. But yeah, JC, did you want to talk about this, or did you have a different subject?
Yes. No. I
can
talk about this. In reading the article, I think that Mo put up, I gotta say that it also shows there's not just two Mo. There's actually like three of them. Unless one is like a third one, or one is a manager. But on the photos, it shows three of them, and it goes on to show the Revolt. And the reason why the problem is, I understand that they told them, hey, all you had to do was act. But in reality, the reason why they went to court is because the independent group that had used it for a while, their name is not incorporated. Their name is not incorporated, so that's why they were able to still use it. So I don't think they're going to cease from using it and just refer to their initials. I think this is going to still go out in court, because I don't think they're just going to back down. I understand that they say, okay, all you had to do was act, but in reality, their names are not incorporated, and who's to say that can't give them more of a popularity? So the other group who's been around now, that probably people didn't know until these people came around who got more exposure on television and stuff.
Yeah, I'd never heard of this other tag team. Mo, had you ever heard of this other tag team? Mo,
are
you there?
This is probably their way. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, heard of the second, but this is probably their way of getting their name out there as well, because they are not as well known as FTR, let's be honest. Because they are on the independent scene.
I mean, if you want me to be honest, who are these guys? Like, I don't want to bury them because they're independent talent and I'm sure that they need to earn a living, but if they go to WWE or to AEW, are they still called the Revolt even if they own that copyright? I highly doubt that. They're going to get repackaged and rebranded into the stylization of whatever company wants to book them. Maybe if they went to Impact, they get to be the Revolt or NWA. But from when we've not even heard of these guys, and they're wrestling on that side of the country, which is like, the West Coast, they're obviously not affiliated with, East Coast wrestling based organizations. So in my opinion, they're obviously, we all know, don't we? West Coast wrestling organizations don't normally get mainstream. So they're obviously probably just going to be a tag team that's been a tag team for a while, but they've just been on the independent scene, and they're obviously just happy to be on the independent scene. I've heard professionals like Conan and other people that are affiliated to places like, California and places like that, and they'll say, apart from when WWE and WCW's tried to go out there, they don't, it's not a big place, is it? Like, wrestling's only become big over in like Las Vegas over the last few years. I mean, obviously that's what Double or Nothing and all those programs were, weren't they? They obviously are based around gambling and stuff like that. So you'd expect at some point AEW would have put on a massive show in that part of the country. Go on.
I think, now that I'm listening to you guys talk, I think I've heard of them. I think I've heard of the Revolt. Now that I've been thinking about it, I think I've heard them, like, from other independent, television. Because, like, example, Championship Hollywood is in California. But I know you said that a lot of people would repackage. I think the only major company, and let's just throw it out there, would be WWE. And not because I'm bashing on them, but because they do it with their own talent. We see that the Viking Raiders, they got repackaged when they went up to the Raw roster. So that I can see
even in
any
AEW,
other company. I don't see NWA doing it.
No, I don't see NWA or Impact repackaging those guys.
Or even All Elite.
Them as what they were. No, I think All Elite has repackaged a few teams and stuff like that. Like they repackaged the Dark Order, the Evil Uno and them because they were the Super Smash Bros. They repackaged some of the other tag teams, like the lower down tag teams. And obviously they brought in tag teams like the Lucha Bros and stuff like that because they were known all over and they were a major tag team. But look at even Proud and Powerful. Yes, they kept them together, but you would have thought that they would have at least tried to have paid off Impact for the, rights to use some kind of version of the LAX name. You know what I mean? Like they remember that they don't even really refer to them as being like, Latino. You obviously know that they're Latino wrestlers, but their gimmick, the Proud and Powerful is not a Latino gimmick, is it? Let's be honest, Proud and Powerful doesn't scream Latino to me. It screams that they're proud and powerful. It means they're hood guys. That's what that says to me. I don't know about you guys, but their tag team says we're street. You know what I mean? We're proud of being street.
I see it both ways. From being Spanish and living in the hood, I can see it. Referring to the Latino, but I think if they wanted to keep the LAX name, they could have gone with something a little bit different than just the LAX.
Yeah, something that's what I'm getting at. To just clarify, that's exactly what I'm getting at. Like they could have gone with something completely alternative to the LAX name. Did you guys understand where I'm coming from? Like they could have gone with
the Latino Exchange or something.
Something completely alternative to the LAX name, but that sounds almost exactly the same. Do you know what I mean? Just like you said, just the Latino Exchange. Yeah, Impact might not have liked that, but really, what if it's not the Latino American Exchange? Then you know what I mean? They've not copied it all, have they? You know what I mean? It's not gimmick infringement. Their gimmick is practically the same gimmick that they had in LAX anyway. But they're obviously part of a faction that's not based around what I meant in the original thing was they're not part of a faction that's just based around Hispanic, Mexican, Puerto Rican, and Cuban relatives. It's not, is it? It's a faction that's based around everybody. So, anyone could be in there. There's a Canadian in there, Americans in there, a Spanish guy in there, and then Hispanic guys in there. So it's all blended. What do you think, Mo? Do you think that if this team ever did make it to a major company, they would still be the Revolt? Or do you think if they're such a big tag team, then they would have already been signed and we would know exactly who that tag team is?
I think they haven't caught any breaks, and they're struggling to get their name out there. And I think they're really upset so much that this other team even has the Revolt. Like, you know what? I don't want to be confused and pushed further down because this popular team has the Revolt name, and now we're going to be even less recognized than we already are. So there's a fear of not getting any push at all, rather than a little push to these independent bookings, if you will.
Yeah.
I think
So
it can go both ways. It's a double-edged knife.
yeah, it is. It's a double-edged sword for every independent wrestler. We said it last night on the show last night. Like it's a double-edged sword for all independent wrestlers right now because it's a rock and a hard place. They either go for broke and try and get probably one of the bigger companies, but also risk never getting a real, decent shot as the gimmick that they are because they'll just be brought in as John Smith or whatever, just a random jobber from wherever. Because don't get it twisted. We all know that Sudge D and Lee Johnson and Alan Angels, these guys are supposed to be people in their independent companies, but they're just, until obviously Pineapple Pete now, they were just bland, normal independent wrestlers until obviously AEW broke out Pineapple Pete. Now, a lot of people are shitting on that, saying, why would the former world champion, a legend, be anywhere near a guy like that? It's like, well, wait a minute. I said it the other day, didn't I? How do we make new stars in companies? Now, this is me sort of contradicting what I said before. Because I said, oh, yeah, who are these guys to moan about it? And that's true. Who are these guys? Because the Revival, we know who the Revival are. I don't care if they want to call themselves the Road Warriors. We know who they are. Yeah, like, we know exactly who that tag team is. And we know exactly what they're about. And we know that they can wrestle. But this Revolt tag team, they could be the best tag team in the world, the best undiscovered tag team in the world. But let's be totally honest with ourselves here, guys. They are nothing at this precise moment except an independent wrestling tag team. If they're really so hungry, they should appeal now to what they're doing. Maybe reach out to WWE and try and get a job with WWE. Do you guys understand where I'm coming from? They're obviously a tag team. Imagine if they do own the gimmick and they go to WWE now and say, the one company that probably like JC and I would agree and say, the one company that would definitely package you, they could probably go to WWE now and say, listen, we've got this issue with the Revival. So you repackage us, we'll sell you the gimmick, like we'll sell you the copyright, you own the copyright, you repackage us as the Revolt, they can never be the Revolt ever again. It's gonna be a lot more serious coming from WWE, a lawsuit coming from WWE than it would be coming from two independent wrestlers. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, and it kind of backs up what Eric Bischoff has always said: controversy create cash.
Yeah, I agree with that. Right, guys, if anyone else got anything they want to add on that subject there, because I'm going to stop this recording in about 30 seconds, if not.
No, I'm good.
Right, okay, well, listen.
Oh, I do want to say something. A different topic that we can add.
No, listen, because we'll move on to a different. Right, let's discuss the Mark Henry and Leo Rush issues over the past few weeks, where Mark Henry has made some comments about Leo Rush's financial status and the way that his lifestyle is and the way that he's been acting, etc. And Leo Rush has obviously fired back at him. Mark Henry obviously claims that Leo Rush had the option to tell him the truth about what was going on, and Leo Rush decided to lie to him, and Mark Henry wasn't happy, and that's why these things took place. Can you guys shed any more light on that? Or do you guys want to just discuss the ins and outs of what you know? Mo?
Well, it's clearly, Leo Rush fired back and said, you could say and sue a 25-year-old male who's no longer working for WWE for what you feel is disrespect and whatever else, but can't I sue you for defaming my character? So basically, let's be honest, it's a pissing contest, yeah?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd say that the two people should be more constant. I mean, Leo Rush did take it a little bit more further and say, like, that Mark Henry's one of these guys that have torpedoed, is the phrase that he used, torpedoed African-American male wrestlers in wrestling, or maybe just African-Americans in wrestling, because he's a good old boy, really. He's a yes man, and he has held down other African-American wrestlers because he is so hard on them, like, as in, like, saying, you don't know how hard that you'll have to, which is a truthful statement in what Mark Henry would be saying, but, there's a time and a place for that, and obviously Leo Rush was obviously exposing him for saying those things. But apart from it, like you say, and I agree, it's a pissing contest. I think there are some personal shots going off here. Now, there's a point where you have to get to where it's like, it sounds a little bit like a work, but let's be fair, Mark Henry is not going to be coming out of retirement to be taking on a £175 cruiserweight. He would and still would destroy him in a match. So let's be honest, they're not building to a match, but maybe they're building to Mark Henry coming out of retirement and maybe Leo Rush being his manager. You never know. But what do you guys think? You think it's a work, or you think this is serious and this is actually something that has got a little bit out of hand and got too personal? Mo, what do you think?
I think unless WWE is behind this and they're finding a way to further the cause, it's what is this going to be, like another Big Show and Floyd Mayweather situation? I don't think so. I don't think there's room for a feud like this between a Hall of Famer and someone who had 20 minutes of fame.
Yeah, I'd say that. And also, apparently, Leo Rush was angry. Listen to this. This is something that I'm glad that you said that. I'm glad that you just mentioned that because I can segue straight into this. Leo Rush was moaning that when he was, and yeah, he helped build up Lashley, and he was probably the most believable and most pushed that Lashley's been since he's been in the company, but he also his attitude also held down Lashley as well, because Lashley also in the end ended up getting punished by all counts because of Leo Rush's absolutely stinking attitude backstage. But yeah, apparently he was mad that Lashley was making more money than him, and Lashley was making money from the Lashley gimmick, although it was Leo Rush who was the guy who designed all the Lashley, and obviously started selling t-shirts with the Lashley name on it. And Leo Rush said, well, I'm not getting no money for that. Well, nor should you, because it's Lashley's name, you plonker.
Yeah,
do you know where I'm coming from? It's Lashley's name. Bobby Lashley.
Well,
who are you?
For one, it's Lashley's name, but for two, Lashley has built his name between the first round, TNA Impact, and his mixed martial arts career.
This guy should be, you're right. And this guy should be thankful that he's in the ring with Lashley at any point, even against him, let alone with him at ringside all the time. He should have been thankful that he was even in the same ring as him, just getting squashed by Lashley. What do you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. He should be thanking and paying. It's not that, all wrestlers need to pay their dues. No different. I mean, they even put the cruiserweight title on him when he came back. So it's not like he didn't get a shot out to the opportunity.
I'm going to be honest with you.
After he burned a few bridges.
A skinny, almost unmarketable, and I think this is me actually shitting on this guy now, because, to be honest, I've got to say this. Who is this guy going after Lashley and Mark Henry? Even in real life, dude, you're going to get your head smashed in a real climate, and if they didn't have, this pandemic right now, can you imagine what this guy would end up like in a situation if Mark Henry or Lashley actually got hold of him in a real situation? I'd fear for his life. Even though they're very calm professional wrestlers and athletes, I'd feel scared for him if I knew that they were coming after him. But, for him to be picking fights with those type of guys, who is this guy? He's a skinny 175 pound cruiserweight who's almost unmarketable without having a microphone in his hand. And he hasn't exactly, he needs Mark Henry or someone like a Lashley to be built up so they can talk up and protect him when it actually comes to the fighting. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think he bit off more than he could chew, and he needed Lashley to be that muscle or someone who could look out for him or have it be believable. Hey, that's why he was so cocky and arrogant. He tried being the early Shawn Michaels character, if you will, after he went on his own, and it wasn't believable, to be honest.
I don't think it was believable that any of the gimmick that he had with when they were building him up as, let's be honest, when he challenged, who did he challenge? Was it Rollins or someone that he challenged? And him and Lashley had that handicap match, didn't they, for the Continental Championship, and he got pinned. And it was just so obvious, look, dude, you are the weak link in this situation. Let's get you out of the ring and keep you on the ramp talking your nonsense. Because the only reason why he was even relevant is because he had, a 6 foot whatever, jacked up African American guy, MMA fighter standing next to him, who legitimately probably could back off at least 10 or 15 normal average size wrestling fans if they ever tried to actually get at Leo Rush. Would you say that without Lashley being
I would say that.
he couldn't talk up that kind of hype? Like, I don't really know. What was he like? This is a good segue. What was he like outside of his run on Raw? I know nothing of this guy in NXT or in 205 Live. What was his gimmick like? Was he just a straight heel or babyface character, or did he actually used to do the talk up bullshit and, you know, banter and then try to like basically make fun of other people when he was on his own?
I think his gimmick.
Oh, you're back, right? Because
I'm back. My phone died. My bad.
I was gonna say
I think
we did cut to you, and then we got like 20 seconds of silence. So quickly, then go on, you go.
Yeah, I just think he actually was his gimmick, and it's been said is marketable. Believe it or not, he has the mic game, and they say he's a very actually good cruiserweight wrestler. That's why he's been built in any company he's been on. Is because he's quick and he's good.
I agree with the as a cruiserweight, he's marketable, but he is barely marketable outside of that 205 Live division. He's so skinny and so frail. Should he really be targeting the first types of people that you're going to say, well, you're just a jealous African American wrestler who you haven't got the size or the weight that Mark Henry and Lashley have got, so you're never going to be the star that they are. And now he's taking shots at guys that legitimately would probably hurt him in a legitimate situation. And I mean, I know that Lashley and obviously Mark Henry are two, as I repeat from what I said before, they're two quite calm, you know, professional types of guys. But come on, guy, if you're trying to bait Lashley and say that's why and apparently that's why they split him and Lashley up, because he just got on Lashley's nerves in the end. Like, dude, you should be proud and happy to just be here. What you want about you should be making money from me? Nah, man, none of that. I don't know if you heard that part of it, one show, but I did say that apparently he moaned a few years back that he wasn't making any money from the Lashley when Lashley's t-shirts would sell. Well, yeah, because that's Lashley's name, you fucking plonker. And that's the second time I've said that on the thing, but I've repeated it. But obviously, what do you think, one show, about that? Do you think he's picking shots at the wrong guys, or do you think he's got the right to go after these two guys?
Well, I thought, that maybe where we're coming at this totally different. I thought when I read that the reason why he's going after, I only knew about Mark Henry. I didn't know about the Bobby Lashley, but I thought it was because he was saying that Mark Henry was known to suppress all the African American talent.
Yeah, sorry, we did discuss that at the start, and I did say about that. If Mark Henry was doing that, then, you know, like Mark Henry's a good old boy and all that kind of stuff, and he's setting back black wrestlers, African American wrestlers, you know, years because of the way that he's a yes man and all that. But at the same time, let me add this, and I'll ask you the question after. At the same time, it's also, that's quite rude to say that to a Hall of Fame wrestler, somebody whose career you will never have. He will never have Mark Henry's career, no matter what he is at the cruiserweight level or in the tag team division. He will never have Mark Henry's career. So, you know, how do you feel about that part of it? Like, forget about Mark Henry maybe overstepping the mark and revealing some things about this, but Mark Henry's an older veteran wrestler. This guy's lucky that Mark Henry didn't just shit all over him.
Well, I just find it weird that Mark Henry would be suppressing wrestlers when Mark Henry interviewed before. They wanted to know why he stuck around so many years in WWE, being the previous African Americans never got pushed. But he says, no, I stuck it out, and now I'm in. I became the first, I think. Well, he wasn't really the first because Rocky Johnson was African American, but one of the most considered African American.
He was the first full African American WWE world
because
champion
there wasn't
of any shape or form. He wasn't the first African American. Obviously, you've got to say The Rock. That was the first WWE world champion.
No. I mean, but there was another black guy.
About in the modern era. They pick and choose. This is WWE. They pick and choose where they start the period of the championship. Yeah, because they don't like to mention people like Bobo Brazil either, even though he was their champion for a brief.
Tony. Wasn't there one Tony Atlas?
No, Tony Atlas was never the champion. Yeah, but Bobo Brazil was the champion. but they don't like to talk about that. But going back to the Mark Henry thing, Mark Henry in the modern era was the very first recognizable. No, in fact, no, Booker T was. Booker T was the first recognizable black world heavyweight champion in the modern era of WWE. And then what happened was, because they didn't put the belt on guys like Lashley, MVP, so many guys started to come and it was like, right, was Booker T just a token champion? And then eventually Mark Henry forced his way with that Hall of Pain gimmick into the main event, and they couldn't avoid it. And even Randy Orton openly said, no, I'm going to put him over. Orton didn't have to put over Mark Henry, but apparently from what I've been told, reports, it was Orton's choice to put over Mark Henry for the title because he knew it would get over.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. If you watch a lot of history, a Black History Month episodes throughout the years where Mark Henry has been like one of the key persons that they interview and talk about, he doesn't look that type of person.
To cut that part
I don't know where he's coming from, those allegations.
To cut that short and then go back to the subject, like, how do you feel about Lio Rush, an underneath wrestler, cruiserweight wrestler, even if this is true, exposing a legend wrestler who's, like I say, he'll never have Mark Henry's career. You know, you have to look at it from that perspective. There is an etiquette in wrestling where you're supposed to respect the people that pave the way for you to be what you are. And the only reason that people like Lio Rush are even in this company at any point is because of guys like Booker T and guys like Mark Henry, who the African Americans like Kofi Kingston that have stuck around for years and years, because we all know that they have to be seen as you're either one type of say R-Truth or you're a Mark Henry. I think you're either determined to make it above the level of being a comedy wrestler, or you're always going to be a comedy wrestler. We know this. We know this about the way that African American wrestlers are treated within WWE. But should a guy in Lio Rush's position, who's still got years of his career, because apparently he's now done with wrestling and he's going to focus on his music career, that's absolute nonsense. Should he be taking pop shots at Mark Henry? Let me quickly go to Mo. Mo, what do you think? Should he be taking pop shots at Mark Henry, specifically just Mark Henry?
No, he shouldn't. Maybe the reason why he's focusing on his music career and not his wrestling was he'll never get over like he did in WWE. Let's be honest. I mean, there could be other companies that could sign him, but his biggest break was WWE, to be fair and to be honest.
Oh, sorry, Amber.
Yeah, and and Poncho, overall, you know, what's your thoughts? Who do you think is in the right? Who do you think is in the right and the wrong in this situation? Because obviously Mark Henry exposes financial dealings and the fact that he apparently spends all his money on, you know, partying and stuff that he shouldn't be doing. He's not saving his money properly, you know. And
so they're going back and forth.
Well, yeah, about each other. Obviously, I've not really explained what happened was. What happened was that is in full is that Mark Henry apparently exposed Lio Rush because Lio Rush was moaning about the Lashley situation, which obviously pitches in, that he didn't make enough money. But then Mark Henry has exposed Lio Rush and say, yeah, but you didn't make enough money because you don't save your money. You're moaning because you don't save and you don't look after your money properly. So don't be getting on a guy like Lashley who's just trying to get over. Whether you got him over or not, you should just be lucky to be there. And then obviously Lio Rush is fired back with, well, speaking of that, you're one of the guys that actually make it so that it's harder for guys like me and Lashley to get over because you held us back years. And that, you know, that's where the disrespect comes in.
I think, in my opinion, and basing this off of one of the episodes that I saw, I think in Dark Side of the Ring, Schultz, it talks about people exposing, and like when that Schultz guy always portrayed a bad role, but then when he left wrestling, he started revealing everything. I think for them to be revealing all this kind of stuff on public, like airing their laundry, they're both stupid for it because they're sure this is not about wrestling. This is about your individual, you know, vendetta versus one or the other. You know what I mean? And then playing the race card against another one from your own, you know, is ridiculous. I think it's childish, and I think it's pettiness.
Yeah,
and
to bring anything to do with colour in it. Mark Henry, if he's tough on younger wrestlers, whether they're black, African American, etc., or if they're white, or if they're Hispanic, I reckon just as hard on anyone who's slacking and not, because him and the Big Show know more than anyone what it is to be labelled as a lazy guy who doesn't know had to be determined. And we all know that when you motivate those two characters, and Kane as well, when you motivate them characters, they managed to get over, despite the fact that they were already labeled as that, as lazy individual guys who just coast on, you know, certain parts of their gimmick. And Leo Rush has obviously got the gift of the gab. But I think at this point, he's got to the point where he's already showing expressions that he thinks that his voice and his vocals will make him a star without actually having to mix it up and actually get over and go through the nitty gritty. Because not all fans are going to like this guy, are they? Even if he can talk. Because some people are going to look at him and think, yeah, but dude, you're still 170 pounds. As I say, referring to that again. But I personally myself think that he's banger. I think Leo Rush, I think they both shouldn't be doing this. But I think that Mark Henry's got the right at this stage of his career to say anything he wants about any professional wrestler that he wants, whether they're African American, Caucasian, or Hispanic, or Chinese, Japanese. He's got the right to say whatever he goddamn pleases about anybody taking the Lord's name in vain. But he's got the right to say anything he wants about any professional wrestler that he wants.
Question. Is there any proof that Leo Rush can back up saying, well, he's holding us and all the African American wrestlers down?
He directly has tweeted or spoken on public forums to Mark Henry and said, well, that's rich coming from a guy who, you know, held down and gets on and buries African American talent. He's actually gone public with this.
No, I know, but has he mentioned, like, given actual examples of people that Mark Henry has supposedly, and does Mark Henry denies it?
I don't. They're two things that I didn't go that deep into when I was researching. I was just more bothered about the comments that had been made. Regardless of if Mark Henry does that or not, it's a veteran thing, isn't it? Mark Henry's not exactly a Hugh Morris, like a random mid-card wrestler who no one, apart from guys who watch, you know, mid-90s to late 90s WCW would remember, yeah? Most of the fans by 2007 didn't even know who Bill DeMott was. They didn't know he was Hugh Morris. But Mark Henry is Mark Henry, whether he was a superstar or not. He has been known over the last 20 years in professional wrestling. He's also known outside of professional wrestling. What my point is Mark Henry's name is a lot stronger to be able to get away with saying stuff to younger, and even if he is hazing wrestlers. How did Mark Henry get treated when he was younger? How do you think Mark Henry got treated when...
I had to sign off.
Go on.
I had to sign off, guys.
All right, Mo. All right, we'll catch you probably tomorrow in the evening time.
Yes.
All right, dude. You take care. You take care.
Bye.
You still there, Wancho?
I'm here. I got like another 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna stop this recording in about a minute anyway. But I just want to say, if you got anything else you want to add there, like obviously it's a bit of a difficult subject, like I say, because obviously I'm not really looking at it in a colour place. I'm looking at it more from a respect thing, like who came before you and what you really should be saying about guys who clearly paved the way, especially when you actually are mentioning colour. When you're mentioning colour, Mark Henry paved the way for guys like Leo Rush to be part of that company. And that's a fact.
Are you black, right? You're black, right?
Yeah,
I know that you're English.
I'm
but
mixed.
how?
I am of Jamaican descent.
Okay, so you're from Jamaican descent, raised in you were born in England?
Yeah, born in England.
But you come from because I was gonna ask you, what do they call? Like, I know over here they already call them African Americans because they're people with the African trait.
We still say black, and like it's mixed race. I'm mixed race. My mom's obviously Caucasian or Hispanic Caucasian, and my dad is obviously Black Caribbean. So that's called mixed race here, like because I've got parents from two different ethnicities.
So your mom was Spanish?
She's Hispanic, yeah. She's Puerto Rican, and she's like whatever else she is.
Oh wow! How did you guys end up in England with your parents?
Immigration.
That's cool.
I was working out not longer, and I'm almost 90% sure that there's no English in my blood at all. I'm just British. My parents are not any English, from what I know. Spanish, Puerto Rican, German, and then Japanese.
But you're English, but you were born in England.
Yeah, I know, but you're not. When you're born in England, you're not English. If you're born in just because you're born in England, you're British. If you're not English by ethnicity, I'm just English. I'm just an English-born British citizen. That's what I am. That's what they declare that as. Like, I'm not English. Like, if you've not got English blood, you're not English. If you've not got German blood, you're not German. You're just German born. Like, if your two parents are Italian and you're born in Germany, you've got German citizenship the same way you've got English citizenship if you were born in England. But you're not English or German. You will be Italian, German-born Italian.
Got you.
There's many people that are Canadian-born English people. So they were born in Canada, but they're English. But they're not Canadian. They're Canadian citizens, but they're not Canadian.
That's like what's this guy's name? The guy from that's why Maharaja. Yeah, he's actually more of a Canadian citizen.
Jinder Mahal is a Canadian citizen, but you got to remember that he's an Indian Canadian. He's Indian Canadian born, meaning that he is. But he's
not. Yeah, I know. But when it comes to what's the other guy from Impact, Mahabali Shakira, he's considered more of an Indian wrestler.
Yeah, because he was born in India and he's Indian, so he's definitely Indian-born Indian.
I know this.
America. But obviously, Jinder Mahal is Indian, but he was born in Canada. So I don't know how Canada rules that kind of rules. Maybe you're still Canadian if you were born in Canada. But if you were born in England, but your parents were American, you'd be English-born American.
Now, question.
You'd be a citizen in America. You'd be allowed to be a citizen in America and in England.